Hello, my dear students. Welcome to Teacher at Home. Today, class, we are going to learn the first chapter, that is the power sharing overview. With this chapter, we resume the tour of democracy that we started last year. We noted last year that in a democracy, all power does not rest with any one organ of the government. An intelligent sharing of power among legislature, executive, and judiciary is very important to the design of a democracy. In this and the next two chapters, we carry this idea of power sharing forward. We start with two stories from Belgium and Sri Lanka. Both these stories are about how democracies handle demands for power sharing. The stories yield some general conclusions about the need for power sharing in democracy. This allows us to discuss various forms of power sharing that we will be taken up in the following two chapters. Belgium and Sri Lanka. Belgium is a small country in Europe, smaller in area than the state of Haryana. It has borders with France, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. It has a population of a little over 1 crore, about half the population of Haryana. The ethnic composition of this small country is very complex. Of the country's total population, 59% lives in the Flemish region and speak Dutch language. Another 40% people live in the Wallonia region and speak French. Remaining 1% of the Belgians speak German. In the capital cities Brussels, 80% people speak French while 20% are Dutch speaking. Minority French speaking community was relatively rich and powerful. This was resented by the Dutch speaking community who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. This led to tensions between the Dutch speaking and the French speaking communities during the 1950s and 1960s. The tension during the two communities was more accurate in Brussels. Brussels presented a special problem. The Dutch speaking people constituted a majority in the country but a minority in the capital. Let us compare this to the situation in another country. Sri Lanka is an island nation, just a few kilometers off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. It has about 2 crore people, about the same as in Haryana. Like other nations in the South Asia regions, Sri Lanka has a diverse population. The major social groups are the Sinhala speakers 74%, Tamil speakers 18%. Among the Tamils, there are two subgroups. Tamil natives of the country are called Sri Lankan Tamils, 13%. The rest whose forefathers came from India as plantation workers during colonial period are called Indian Tamils. As you can see from the map, Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamil are Hindus or Muslims. There are about 77% Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhala. Just imagine what could happen in a situation like this. In Belgium, the Dutch community could take advantage of its numeric majority and force its will on the French and German speaking population. This would push the conflict among communities further. This could lead to a very messy partition of the country. Both the sides would claim control over Brussels. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Now let us look at what happened in both these countries. Majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disregarding Tamil. The governments followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall project and foster Buddhism. All these government measures, coming one after the other, gradually increased the feeling of alienation, alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. They felt that none of the major political parties led by the Buddhist Sinhala leaders was effective to their language and culture. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interest. As a result, the relations between the Sinhala and Tamil communities strained over time. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity, securing education and jobs. Both their demand for more autonomy to provinces populated by the Tamils were repeatedly denied. By 1980, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Elam in northern and eastern part of Sri Lanka. The distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. It soon turned into a civil war. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities had been killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihood. You are read about Sri Lankan's excellent record of economic development, education, and health. But the civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural, and economic life of the country that ended in 2009. Accommodation in Belgium. The Belgian leaders took a different path. They recognized the existence of regional differences and cultural diversities. Between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times so as to work out an arrangement that would enable everyone to live together within the same country. Arrangement they worked out in different from any other country, and it is very innovative. Here are some of the elements of the Belgium model. Constitution prescribes that the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. Some special laws require the support of majority of members from each linguistic group. Thus, no single community can make decisions unilaterally. Many powers of the central government have been given to the state government of the two regions of the country. State government are not subordinate to the central government. Brussels had a separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. The French-speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch-speaking community has accepted equal representations in the central government. Apart from the central and the state government, there is a third kind of government. This community government is elected by people belonging to one language community, Dutch, French, and German speaking, no matter where they live. This government has the power regarding cultural, educational, and language related issues. You might find the Belgium model very complicated. It indeed is very complicated even for people living in Belgium. But these arrangements have worked well so far. They help to avoid civic strife between the two majority communities and a possible divisions of the country on linguistic lines. When many countries of Europe came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters. What do we learn from the two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka? Both are democracies, yet they dealt with the question of power sharing differently. In Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feelings and interests of different communities and regions. Such a realization resulted in mutually acceptable arrangements for sharing power. Sri Lanka shows us a contrasting example. It shows us that if a majority community wants to force its dominance over other and refugees to share power, it can undermine the unity of the people. What power sharing is desirable? There's two different sets of reasons can be given in favor of power sharing. Firstly, power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between the social groups. Since social conflict often leads to violence and political instability, the power sharing is a good way to ensure the stability of political order. Imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run it undermines the unity of the nation. Tyranny of the majority is not just oppressive for the minority, it often brings ruin to the majority as well. There is a second deeper reason why power sharing is good for democracies. Power sharing is very spirit of democracy. A democratic rule involves sharing power with those affected by this exercise and who have to live with its effects. People have a right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. A legitimate government is one where citizens through participation acquire a stake in the system. Let us call the first set of reasons prudential and the second moral. While prudential reasons stress that power sharing will bring out better outcomes, moral reasons emphasize the very act of power sharing as valuable. Annette studies in Dutch medium school in the northern region of Belgium. Many French-speaking students in her school want the medium of instruction to be French. Selvi studies in a school in the northern region of Sri Lanka. All the students in the school are Tamil speaking and they want the medium of instruction to be Tamil. If the parents of Annette and Selvi were to approach respective governments to realize the desire of the child who is more likely to succeed and why. Khalil's dilemma. As usual, Vikram was driving the motorbike under a vow of silence and Vital from the pillion rider. As usual, Vital started telling Vikram a story to keep him awake while driving. This time, the story went as follows. In the city of Bairat, there lived a man called Khalil. His parents came from different communities. His father was an Orthodox Christian and mother a Sunni Muslim. This was not so uncommon in this modern cosmopolitan city. People from various communities that lived in Lebanon came to live in its capital Beirut. They lived together, intermingled, yet fought a bitter civil war among themselves. One of the Khalil's uncles was killed in that war. At the end of the civil war, Lebanon's leaders came together and agreed to some basic rules for power sharing among different communities. As per these rules, the country's president must belong to the Maronite sect of Catholic Christians. The prime minister must be from the Sunni Muslim community. The post of the deputy prime minister is fixed for Orthodox Christian sect, that of the speaker for Shia Muslims. Under this pact, the Christians agree not to seek French protection and the Muslims agreed not to seek unification with the neighboring state of Syria. When the Christians and Muslims came to this agreement, they were nearly equal in population. Both sides have continued to respect their agreement, though now the Muslims are in clear majority. Khalil does not like the system one bit. He is a popular man with political ambition. But under the present system, the top position is one of its reach. He does not practice either his father or his mother's religion and does not wish to be known by either. He cannot understand why Lebanon cannot be like any other normal democracy. Just hold an election, allow everyone to contest, and whoever wins maximum votes become the president no matter which community he comes from. Why can't we do that, like in other democracies of the world? He asks his elders, who has been in the bloodshed of the civil war, tell him that the present system is the best guarantee for peace. The story was not finished, but they had reached the TV tower, where they stopped every day. Vital wrapped up quickly and posed his customary question to Vikram. If you had the power to rewrite the rules of Lebanon, what would you do? Would you adopt the regular rules followed everywhere, as Khalil suggests, or stick to the old rules, or do something else? Vital did not forget to remind Vikram of their basic pact. If you have an answer in mind and it did not speak, your mobile will freeze and so will you. Can you help Vikram in answering Vital? Forms of power sharing. The idea of power sharing has emerged in opposition to the notions of undivided political power. For a long time, it was believed that all power of a government must reside in one person or group of persons located in one place. It was felt that if the power to decide is dispersed, it would not be possible to take quick decisions and to enforce them. But these notions have changed with the emergence of democracy. One basic principle of democracy is that people are the source of all political power. In a democracy, people rule themselves through institutions of self-government. In a good democratic government, due respect is given to diverse groups and views that exist in the society. Everyone has a voice in the shaping of public policies. Therefore, it follows that in democracy, political power should be distributed among as many citizens as possible. Modern democracies, power sharing arrangements can take many forms. Let us look at some of the most common arrangements that we have or will come across. Power is shared among different organs of government, such as the legislature, executive, and judiciary. Let us call this horizontal distribution of power because it allows the different organs of government placed at the same level to exercise different powers. Such a separation ensures that none of the organs can exercise unlimited power. Each organ checks its others. This results in a balance of power among various institutions. Last year, we studied that in a democracy, even though ministers and government officials exercise power, they are responsible to the government or state assemblies. Similarly, although judges are appointed by the executive, they can check the functioning of executive or laws made by the legislature. This arrangement is called a system of checks and balances. Power can be shared among governments at different levels. A general government for the entire country and governments at the provincial and regional level. Such a general government for the entire country is usually called federal government. In India, we refer to it as central government or union government. Government as at the provincial or regional level are called by different names in different countries. In India, we call them state government. This system it is not followed in all countries. There are many countries where there are no provincial or state government. But in those countries, like others, where there are different levels of government, the constitution clearly lays down the powers of different levels of government. This is what they did in Belgium but was refused in Sri Lanka. This is called federal division of power. The same principle can be extended to levels of government lower than the state government, such as the municipality and panchayat. Let us call division of powers involving higher or lower levels of government vertical division of power. We shall study this at some length in the next chapter. Power may also be shared among different social groups, such as the religious and linguistic group. Community government in Belgium is a good example of this arrangement. Some countries, there are constitutional and legal arrangements whereby socially weaker sections and women are represented in the legislature and administration. Last year, we studied the system of reserved constituencies in assemblies and the parliament of our country. This type of arrangement is meant to give space to the government and administration to diverse social groups who otherwise would feel aligned from the government. This method is used to give minority communities a fair share in power. In Unit 2, we shall look at various ways of accommodating social diversities. Power sharing arrangements can also seen in the way political party, pressure group, and movements control or influence those in power. In a democracy, citizens must have freedom to choose among various contenders for power. In contemporary democracies, this takes the form of competition among different parties. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. In the long run, power is shared among the different political parties that represent different ideologies and social groups. Sometimes this kind of sharing can be direct, when two or more parties form an alliance to contest elections. If their alliance is elected, they form a coalition government and they share power. In a democracy, we find interest groups such as those of traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, and industrial workers. They also will have a share in government power other than participation in governmental committees or bringing influence on the decision making process. In Unit 3, we shall study the working of political parties. Here are some examples of power sharing, which are the four types of power sharing do this represent. The Mumbai High Court ordered the Maharashtra state government to immediately take action and improve living conditions for the 2,000 odd children at 7 children's homes in Mumbai. The government, Ontario State in Canada, has agreed to a land claim settlement with the Aboriginal community. The minister responsible for Native Affairs announced that the government will work with Aboriginal people in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. Russia's two influential political parties, the Union of Right Force and the Liberal Yabloko movement, agreed to unite their organizations into a strong right-wing coalition. They propose to have a common list of candidates in the next parliamentary election. The finance minister of various states in Niagara got together and demanded that the federal government declare its source of income. They also wanted to know the formula by which the revenue is distributed in various state governments. So that's all about this chapter. If you are interested, please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Okay, thank you.